Kim Woo wiped the sweat from his forehead as he crawled out from under the massive power generator. The humming sound it made was wrong, like a cat trying to sing opera. He had been working on Kepler Station for only 3 weeks, but he already knew every machine's normal sound. "The readings are getting worse," said Veltar, the crystal-like alien who managed station safety. Her voice tinkled like broken glass when she was worried. "The neutron star is building up for a major flare." Park Hana looked up from her desk, where she was reviewing trade agreements. As the human diplomatic attaché, she usually dealt with boring paperwork about cargo shipments. Solar flares were definitely not in her job description. "How major?" she asked. Veltar's crystalline body flashed red, which meant very bad news. "The flare will hit us in 6 hours. It will cook everything on this station unless we evacuate completely." Kim Woo stood up and brushed dust off his work clothes. "What's the normal evacuation time?" 72 hours minimum, said Grix, the insect-like station administrator. His 4 arms were already typing on different computers at once. "We need time to pack sensitive equipment, coordinate with 17 different species rescue ships, and follow proper safety protocols." 72 hours for a 6-hour problem, Kim Woo said quietly. He looked at the readouts showing the neutron star's activity. The numbers were climbing fast. Park Hana saw the look on his face. She had seen that look before. It was the same look her brother got right before he fixed their family's broken hovercar by hitting it with a hammer. It was the look humans got when they stopped thinking about rules and started thinking about solutions. "Kim, maybe we should just follow the evacuation plan," she said carefully. "The plan won't work," Kim Woo replied. He was studying the station's layout on a wall screen. "Look, the neutron star doesn't care about our paperwork. The flare is coming whether we're ready or not." Veltar's body flashed from red to purple, which meant she was moving from worried to terrified. "The mathematics are impossible. No single person can solve this. We need teams of specialists and proper equipment." Kim Woo looked at her for a long moment. Then he looked at the countdown timer showing 5 hours and 53 minutes until the flare hit. Finally, he shrugged. "Fine," he said. "I got this." The moment those words left his mouth, something strange happened. Every computer on the station started beeping at once. Emergency lights began flashing in patterns nobody had ever seen before. In the distance, alarm sounds came from the docking bays. "What's happening?" Park Hana asked. But Veltar was already moving toward the communication center, her crystal body now flashing white with panic. "The quarantine protocols have activated," Veltar said, her voice shaking. "All ships within 50 light years are receiving evacuation orders. The automated systems are telling everyone to stay away from this area." Grix stopped typing and stared at his screens. "I don't understand. I didn't activate any quarantine protocols. The system is running some kind of emergency program I've never seen before." Park Hana felt a cold feeling in her stomach. "What kind of emergency program?" "It's called Human Contingency Protocol Alpha," Grix read from his screen. The message going out says, "Maintain safe distance. Human problem solving in progress. Probability of reality alterations high." "Reality alterations?" Park Hana looked at Kim Woo, who was already walking toward the engineering section. "Kim, what did you do?" "I didn't do anything yet," Kim Woo called back. "I just said I'd handle it." Veltar's body was now cycling through colors so fast it looked like a disco ball. "The legend," she whispered. "I thought it was just a story." "What legend?" Park Hana demanded. "The stories about humans," Veltar explained, her voice getting higher. About what happens when they say those specific words. When humans say, "Fine, I got this," the universe itself gets nervous. Park Hana had never heard of such stories, but she was starting to get a bad feeling. That's ridiculous. Kim is just an engineer. Just an engineer? Grix's insect eyes were wide with fear. Do you know what happened the last time a human engineer said those words? The Proxima incident. A black hole was eating an entire solar system. One human engineer said, "Fine, I got this," and somehow convinced the black hole to stop being hungry. That's impossible, Park Hana said. But even as she said it, she remembered stories from her childhood, strange stories about human space explorers who solved impossible problems in impossible ways. More alarms started going off. The station's main computer announced, "All non-essential personnel report to evacuation pods. Essential personnel maintain minimum safe distance from human Wu, Kim." The computer is treating Kim like a dangerous chemical spill, Park Hana realized. Worse, said Veltar. Chemical spills follow the laws of physics. In the engineering section, Kim Wu was examining the power systems that protected the station from radiation. The shields were strong, but not strong enough for what was coming. The neutron star was building up energy like a cosmic bomb getting ready to explode. Could hear Park Hana and the aliens talking in the other room, but he wasn't really listening. He was thinking about the problem. The shields couldn't be made stronger in 6 hours. The flare couldn't be stopped or redirected. But maybe the problem wasn't about stopping the flare at all. Kim Wu looked at the coffee maker in the corner of the engineering bay. It was a simple machine, but it had some interesting properties. It converted energy from one form to another. It processed raw materials and turned them into something useful. It followed specific programming to create predictable results. Huh, he said to himself. That might actually work. Outside, more ships were leaving the area. The evacuation zone was getting bigger by the hour. Somewhere in the galaxy, emergency committees were probably having meetings about what to do when humans started problem-solving. But Kim Wu wasn't thinking about any of that. He was thinking about coffee makers and solar flares and the interesting ways that energy could be converted from one thing to another. He rolled up his sleeves and got to work. The countdown timer showed 5 hours and 12 minutes until the flare hit. The station shook slightly as another ship departed, heading for safer space. Kim Wu hummed quietly to himself as he started taking apart the coffee maker. He had always been good at fixing things. Today, he was going to fix a problem that was bigger than a space station, more dangerous than a solar flare, and completely impossible according to every known law of physics. It was going to be a good day. Li Jin sat in the great council chamber of the Spiral Alliance, watching as representatives from 43 different species argued in languages that sounded like music, static, and underwater screaming. The emergency session had been called 30 minutes after Kim Wu's words triggered the quarantine protocols. "Order! Order!" shouted Thok, the ancient reptilian counselor who had been leading these meetings for over 200 years. His scales were turning the dark green color that meant he was losing patience. "Ambassador Li, can you explain why your species has activated emergency protocols across 3 star systems?" Li Jin stood up slowly. She had been Earth's representative to the Spiral Alliance for 5 years, and she thought she understood how things worked. Apparently, she was wrong. "Honestly, Counselor Thok, I have no idea," she said. "I wasn't even aware we had emergency protocols that could do that." A blob-like creature that spoke through chemical smells released a scent that translated as terrified. Confusion. The translation computer announced, Representative Gloop wishes to know if humans are preparing for war. No war, Li Jin said quickly. One of our engineers just volunteered to help with a solar flare problem. The chamber fell silent. Then Zeph, who looked like a cloud of gas wearing a suit, began making a sound like wind through broken windows. This was how his species laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. She doesn't know, Zeph wheezed. The human ambassador doesn't know about the legends. What legends? Li Jin asked, but she was starting to feel worried. Thok's scales turned even darker. Bring up the historical files. Show her the Proxima incident. A holographic display appeared. In the center of the chamber, it showed a solar system with a black hole in the middle, eating planets one by one. Then it showed a small human ship approaching the black hole. This was 40 years ago, Thok explained. The black hole had already consumed 3 planets. Every species in the galaxy sent their best scientists to find a solution. They calculated that it would take 50 years and the combined resources of 12 civilizations to stop it. The hologram showed the human ship getting closer to the black hole. A communication record played. This is Engineer Chen reporting. The black hole is bigger than expected, but fine. I got this. Li Jin watched in amazement as the recording showed the black hole suddenly stopping its feeding. The massive gravitational monster just paused. Then it slowly began moving away from the remaining planets, like a dog that had been told to drop a stolen sandwich. How is that possible? Li Jin asked. We still don't know, admitted Zeph. The human engineer claimed he negotiated with the black hole. His report said he convinced it that eating planets was inefficient and suggested it try eating empty space instead, which apparently has fewer calories. Another representative, a creature that looked like a walking tree, creaked in its language. Tell her about the Hive War. The hologram changed to show 2 insect-like civilizations locked in battle. Their war had been going on for 1,000 years, with both sides using increasingly dangerous weapons. The Zith and the Kren had been fighting so long that they had forgotten what started the war, Thok continued. Their weapons were becoming so powerful that they threatened to destroy nearby star systems. The galaxy tried everything to stop them. The recording showed a human maintenance worker named Rodriguez arriving at the main battle site. Her job was supposed to be fixing communication equipment. Instead, she looked at both sides' weapons and said the famous words, "Fine, I got this." What did she do? Li Jin asked, though she was afraid to know. She optimized both sides' weapons. Zeph explained. She made them more efficient, so efficient that they started working too well. The weapons became so good at destroying things that they began targeting the concepts of war and conflict instead of actual targets. Li Jin stared at the hologram. She made weapons that attacked the idea of fighting. The war ended the next day, Thok confirmed. Both sides signed a peace treaty because their own weapons made them physically unable to think aggressive thoughts. The weapons are still active. That entire region of space is now a mandatory peace zone. More examples appeared on the hologram. The reality breach incident, where a human janitor fixed a tear in space-time using cleaning supplies and positive thinking. The temporal loop crisis, where a human chef solved a time paradox by cooking a meal that existed in 17 different timelines simultaneously. Every time, Thok said, the pattern is the same. Impossible problem. Human volunteer. Those specific words. Reality bends. Li Jin felt dizzy. Are you saying humans can change the laws of physics? We're saying humans don't seem to notice when the laws of physics tell them something is impossible, corrected Zeph. They just work around it. A new alarm started sounding in the council chamber. The display showed the quarantine zone around Kepler Station expanding again. "It's getting bigger," announced the translation computer on behalf of a crystalline being. "The automated systems are increasing the safe distance." Li Jin looked at the expanding red zone on the galactic map. "How do I make it stop?" "You can't," Thok said grimly. "The protocols will stay active until the human either solves the problem or what? Or reality stabilizes," Zeph finished. "The last time, it took 3 weeks for local physics to return to normal after the incident ended." Li Jin sat back down heavily. "So you're telling me that one of our engineers saying he can help with a solar flare has triggered galaxy-wide panic because humans have a reputation for accidentally breaking reality?" "Not accidentally," Thok corrected. "Humans break reality very much on purpose. They just call it problem-solving." The communication system crackled to life. A message came through from the quarantine zone. "This is Park Hana on Kepler Station. The situation is developing. Kim Woo is working on the solution. He's currently modifying kitchen equipment." "Kitchen equipment?" Li Jin asked weakly. The council chamber fell silent again. Then every alien representative began talking at once, their voices creating a chaos of worried sounds. "Should we evacuate this sector?" asked one. "Maybe we should evacuate the galaxy," suggested another. Li Jin stood up and tried to project calm authority. "Everyone, please remain calm. I'm sure our engineer knows what he's doing." The moment she said this, alarms started going off throughout the council chamber. The automated systems had apparently been listening to the conversation. "Human confidence detected," announced the building's computer. "Upgrading threat level, expanding quarantine zone." On the display, the red zone around Kepler Station doubled in size. Li Jin looked at the expanding circle of danger on the map and realized that somewhere in the galaxy, Kim Woo was probably still working on his coffee maker solution. She also realized that her attempt to reassure everyone had just made things much worse. "Maybe I should stop talking," she said quietly. "That would be wise," agreed Thok, his scales now completely black with stress. "In fact, perhaps no humans should talk until this is over." But it was too late. The damage was done. Across the galaxy, the message was spreading. The humans were confident about their solution, and everyone knew that confident humans were the most dangerous kind. Kim Woo had completely taken apart the coffee maker and spread its pieces across 3 tables in the engineering bay. To anyone watching, it looked like a man having a breakdown with kitchen appliances. But Kim Woo saw something different. He saw potential. "Kim, what exactly are you doing?" Park Hana asked through the intercom. She was coordinating the evacuation from the command center, but she kept checking on him every few minutes. "I'm reconsidering the fundamental problem," Kim Woo replied, holding up a small heating element. "Everyone thinks this is about stopping a solar flare. But what if it's not about stopping anything?" Outside the station, more ships were leaving. Every hour. The quarantine zone had grown so large that trade routes were being rerouted around it. Somewhere in space, Choi Min was monitoring the situation from her research vessel, the Curiosity. "This is Dr. Choi to Kepler Station," came her voice over the radio. "Kim, my instruments are picking up some very strange energy readings from your location. What are you building over there?" Kim Woo looked at his work. He had connected the coffee maker's heating element to the station's power grid, but not in any way that made sense according to normal engineering. The wiring looked like abstract art created by someone who had never seen actual electrical systems. "I'm not building anything," he said. "I'm teaching." "Teaching what?" Choi Min asked. Teaching the solar flare how to be useful instead of destructive? There was a long pause. Then Choi Min said, Kim, that's not how solar flares work. They're not alive. They can't learn. Kim Woo smiled as he connected another impossible wire configuration. Says who? Yoon. So, the captain maintaining the quarantine perimeter added her voice to the conversation. Kim, I'm seeing some very worried aliens out here. A crystalline science ship just jumped to twice the minimum safe distance. They're overreacting, Kim Woo said calmly. He was now working on what used to be the coffee maker's water reservoir, but he had filled it with a mixture of coolant fluid and energy conversion gel. This is going to be much simpler than everyone thinks. Veltar appeared in the engineering bay doorway, but she wouldn't come any closer. Her crystal body was flashing yellow, which meant she was fascinated, but terrified. Kim, she said carefully, your modifications are creating energy patterns that shouldn't exist. My sensors say you're building a probability cascade generator. Is that bad? Kim Woo asked, not looking up from his work. We don't know, Veltar admitted. We don't know what a probability cascade generator is because it's not supposed to be possible. Kim Woo attached the modified water reservoir to what used to be the coffee maker's brewing mechanism. The whole device now looked like something a mad scientist would build if he really, really wanted a cup of coffee and was willing to rewrite physics to get it. Kim, Park Hana said over the intercom, the countdown shows 2 hours until the flare hits. Are you sure about this? Kim Woo stepped back and looked at his creation. It hummed quietly, but it was a different kind of humming than before. This humming sounded like the universe thinking about something very hard. I'm sure, he said. The math is actually pretty simple once you ignore the parts that don't make sense. Choi Min's voice crackled through the radio. Kim, my readings just went completely crazy. According to my instruments, you've created a device that convinces reality to be more flexible about cause and effect. That sounds about right, Kim Woo agreed. He pressed a few buttons on his modified coffee maker. Lights began flashing in, patterns that somehow looked optimistic. Grix skittered into the engineering bay, his 4 arms carrying different scientific instruments. Kim, I'm detecting temporal fluctuations, small ones, but they're growing. What exactly is your plan? Kim Woo pointed at the countdown timer, which now showed 1 hour and 37 minutes. The solar flare is coming whether we like it or not. It's carrying massive amounts of energy that will destroy everything on this station. Yes, we know that, Grix said impatiently. But, Kim Woo continued, energy can be converted from one form to another. The question is, what if we convert the destructive energy of a solar flare into something useful? Like what? Veltar asked. Kim. Woo patted his modified coffee maker. Like really good coffee. The room fell silent except for the gentle humming of the impossible machine. You want to turn a solar flare into coffee? Park Hana's voice came through the intercom very quietly. Not just any coffee, Kim Woo explained. Perfect coffee. Coffee that exists in harmony with the fundamental forces of the universe. Coffee that the solar flare will want to become instead of being destructive radiation. Choi Min's voice sounded strained. Kim, that's not how physics works. Physics is more flexible than people think, Kim Woo replied. He made a final adjustment to his machine. You just have to ask nicely. The countdown timer showed 1 hour and 15 minutes. Outside, the neutron star was building toward its massive energy release. But something strange was happening in the engineering bay. The air itself seemed to be humming along with Kim Woo's device. "Kim," Yoon So reported from outside the quarantine zone. "Something is happening to the neutron star. It looks confused." Kim Woo checked his readings. "That's normal. I'm broadcasting a polite request for it to reconsider its energy output options." "You're talking to a star?" Grix asked, his compound eyes wide. "Not talking," Kim Woo corrected. "Suggesting. There's a difference." The humming from his machine was getting stronger. Throughout the station, other devices began humming in harmony. Coffee makers in the cafeteria, computers in the offices, even the air recycling system started contributing to the cosmic song. "This is impossible," Veltar whispered, but she was watching with fascination as reality began bending around Kim Woo's solution. "Impossible is just another word for hasn't been tried yet," Kim Woo said. He checked the countdown. 53 minutes remaining. Through the radio, Choi Min reported, "The neutron star's energy buildup is changing. The flare is still coming, but it's harmonizing with some kind of universal frequency. Kim, what did you do?" Kim Woo looked at his modified coffee maker, which was now humming so beautifully that it made everyone who heard it feel peaceful and slightly thirsty. "I gave the universe a better option," he said simply. The countdown continued, but somehow everyone felt less worried. The solar flare was still coming, but now it seemed less like an unstoppable force of destruction and more like a cosmic delivery service. Kim Woo sat down in a chair and watched his machine work its impossible magic. In less than an hour, they would find out if the universe preferred coffee to catastrophe. He was pretty confident about the answer. The solar flare hit Kepler Station at exactly 14:32 station time. Every alien on the station braced for death, destruction, and the end of everything they had ever known. Instead, the smell of perfectly brewed coffee filled the air. Kim Woo stood in the engineering bay, watching his modified coffee maker purr contentedly as it processed the massive solar flare. Where deadly radiation should have fried every circuit on the station, instead there was the gentle sound of brewing and the warm, welcoming aroma of the best coffee anyone had ever smelled. "Status report," Park Hana called over the intercom, her voice shaky with disbelief. "All systems normal," Grix reported from his station. "Better than normal, actually. The power grid is running at 112% efficiency, which should be impossible." Veltar's crystal body had turned a bright, happy blue as she stared at her instruments. "Radiation levels are 0. Temperature is optimal, and somehow every beverage dispenser on the station is now serving premium quality drinks." Kim Woo nodded with satisfaction. The solar flare decided it preferred being useful to being destructive. "Can't say I blame it." Outside the station, Choi Min was frantically checking her instruments from the research vessel. "This is Dr. Choi to anyone who can hear me. My readings are showing that the solar flare has been converted into coffee? How is this possible?" "Magic," Kim Woo replied simply. "Or very advanced science. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference." Within hours, news of the incident spread across the galaxy faster than the original quarantine warnings. The story got more incredible with each telling. A human engineer had convinced a solar flare to become coffee. A neutron star had been politely asked to reconsider its energy output. Reality had been negotiated with, and reality had apparently agreed to the terms. Bae Su arrived on the first transport after the quarantine was lifted. She was Earth's leading expert on impossible physics, though she had never expected to need that specialty. She brought a team of scientists and enough recording equipment to document a small war. "Kim Woo," she said, as she examined his modified coffee maker. "Do you have any idea what you've actually done here?" Kim Woo was sitting nearby, enjoying a cup of what might have been the universe's first solar flare brewed coffee. It was surprisingly good, rich, smooth, with just a hint of cosmic energy. "I solved a problem," he said. "The station needed protection from a solar flare. Now it's protected, plus everyone gets better coffee. Win-win." Bei Su's instruments were giving readings that made no sense according to any known physics. Her scanner kept displaying results like yes, probably, and does anyone want coffee? "But how?" she asked. "How did you convince a massive stellar energy release to become a beverage?" Kim Woo shrugged. "I asked nicely, and I gave it a better option." Nam Jun, the journalist covering the story, had been interviewing aliens throughout the station. Their responses were remarkably consistent. Terrified, amazed, grateful, and really enjoying the coffee. "The aliens are calling it weaponized problem-solving," Nam Jun reported to Kim Woo. "They're saying humans don't just solve problems. You solve them so thoroughly that the problems forget they were supposed to be problems." News was coming in from across the galaxy about the response to Kim Woo's success. The Quarantine Council, a secret organization that had apparently been monitoring human problem-solving for decades, had finally revealed itself to the public. "We've been watching humanity since you first achieved spaceflight," explained Council Chairman Vorth in a Galactic broadcast. "Every time one of your people says those words, 'Fine, I got this,' we document what happens next. Our files now contain 47 incidents of humans resolving impossible situations through methods that we still don't understand." The chairman, a being that looked like a walking mushroom with too many eyes, continued. "Today's events have convinced us that formal protocols are necessary. Any human who says, 'Fine, I got this,' will now be immediately relocated to a designated problem-solving zone until the situation stabilizes." Park Hana watched the broadcast with growing amazement. "We're so good at solving problems that we scare the entire galaxy?" "Apparently," said Kim Woo, "though I think scare is a strong word. I prefer inspire cautious optimism." More details emerged about the new protocols. All human engineers would now be required to attend a course called Responsible Reality Modification. Humans working on space stations would have mandatory coffee breaks, not because they needed rest, but because aliens had learned that humans solved fewer impossible problems when they were relaxed and caffeinated. The most surprising revelation came when the neutron star itself seemed to respond to the situation. Astronomical observations showed that it had somehow become more stable, as if Kim Woo's polite conversation had given it better ideas about how to be a star. "The neutron star is now producing a perfectly regular energy output," reported Dr. Yuki from the Stellar Observatory. "It's like someone gave it a manual on proper star behavior." Veltar had spent hours studying Kim Woo's modified coffee maker, trying to understand how it worked. Her conclusion was both simple and terrifying. "It doesn't work according to our physics. It works according to Kim Woo's physics." "I don't have special physics," Kim Woo protested. "I just think about problems differently." "That's what scares us," Veltar replied, though her blue coloring showed she was more fascinated than frightened. As the day ended, the quarantine zone was officially lifted. Ships began returning to the area, though many alien captains insisted on maintaining extra distance just in case the human decides to improve something else. Baisu finished her preliminary report and sent it to Earth. Subject successfully resolved stellar threat through unconventional means. Recommend immediate study of Kim Woo's problem-solving methods. Also recommend stockpiling coffee supplies. Apparently, the universe has developed a taste for it. The last major change was to Kepler Station itself. The station's computer systems had somehow been upgraded during the solar flare incident. They now provided helpful suggestions for improving efficiency, all written in a friendly tone that sounded suspiciously like Kim Woo. "Attention all personnel," the station announced. "Today's coffee is especially good. Please enjoy responsibly and remember that most problems are just solutions waiting for the right perspective." Kim Woo finished his coffee and stood up to return to his regular engineering duties. As he walked through the station, aliens stepped politely aside and thanked him for not destroying reality while fixing their solar flare problem. Just another day at work, he thought to himself, completely unaware that his words had changed how an entire galaxy thought about humans, problems, and the flexible nature of physics. The coffee maker hummed quietly in the background, occasionally brewing a fresh cup for anyone who looked like they needed one. It had learned to be helpful, just like its creator. And somewhere in the cosmic distance, other stars took note of the neutron star's improved behavior and wondered if they, too, might benefit from a polite conversation with a human engineer. 6 months after the Kepler Station incident, the galaxy had settled into what everyone carefully called the new normal. This meant that every safety protocol, emergency procedure, and crisis response plan in known space now included something called the human clause. Kim Woo had been promoted to Chief of Impossible Engineering Solutions, a job title that had been created specifically for him. His office was on a small space station called Haven Point, which existed in a pocket of space that had been declared reality stable by the Quarantine Council. "Kim," said Oda, his newest trainee, "I still don't understand how you knew the solar flare would prefer being coffee." Oda was young, eager, and had scored perfectly on every engineering exam Earth had ever created. She was also the first human to attend the mandatory responsible problem-solving course before being assigned to space duty. "I didn't know it would prefer coffee," Kim Woo explained patiently. "I just gave it the option and let it choose. Most problems want to be solved, they just need someone to show them how." Da nodded seriously and wrote this down in her notebook. The Quarantine Council had asked her to document everything, Kim Woo said, just in case his methods could be taught to other humans. So far, her notes mostly consisted of phrases like, "ask nicely," "think differently," and "coffee helps everything." Kang Ho knocked on the office door before entering. As the human liaison to the Quarantine Council, he spent most of his time reassuring aliens that humans were not planning to redesign the universe, at least not on purpose. "Kim, I need to ask you about your latest project," Kang Ho said. "The Council is getting nervous about your work on the cargo transport problem." Kim Woo looked up from his desk, where he was sketching designs for a new type of shipping container. "What's wrong with trying to make cargo transport more efficient?" "Nothing," Kang Ho said carefully, "except that your solution involves teaching cargo containers to move themselves through space by thinking really hard about their destinations. It's called quantum motivation," Kim Woo explained. "Objects want to be where they're supposed to be. We just need to help them understand where that is." Kang Ho rubbed his temples. "Kim, the Council has asked me to remind you that inanimate objects don't usually want things." "They do now," Kim Woo replied cheerfully. Ever since the coffee incident, lots of things have been developing preferences. Haven't you noticed that broken equipment has been fixing itself more often lately? This was actually true. Across the galaxy, maintenance reports showed a significant decrease in equipment failures. Machines seemed to be taking better care of themselves, as if they had learned to be more responsible about their own operation. The Council thinks you're accidentally teaching the universe to be more helpful, Kang Ho said. Is that bad? Kim Woo asked. Before Kang Ho could answer, an alarm started going off. Not the loud, panicky alarms that meant immediate danger, but the gentle, polite alarms that meant, please pay attention to this potentially interesting situation. Da checked her computer. There's a report coming in about a dying star in the Vega system. It's about to collapse into a black hole. Kim Woo stood up and looked at the star charts. The dying star was massive, ancient, and according to all known science, completely beyond saving. When it collapsed, it would destroy everything in the system and probably damage several neighboring systems as well. Standard evacuation time for the Vega system is 8 months, Kang Ho said quickly. The star will collapse in 6 months. The local species have already begun moving their populations to safety. Kim Woo studied the data. The star was old and tired, burning through the last of its fuel. Soon it would run out of energy, and gravity would crush it into a point smaller than a marble. It was exactly the kind of problem that had no solution. This is manageable, Da said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. She was staring at the star data with the same expression Kim Woo had worn 6 months ago when he looked at the solar flare problem. The room went very quiet. Da, Kim Woo said gently. What are you thinking? Well, she said slowly, everyone assumes the star has to collapse because it's running out of fuel. But what if we could convince it to burn more efficiently? Or what if we could teach it to use a different kind of fuel? Or what if... She stopped, realizing that everyone was staring at her with expressions of fascination and terror. What? She asked. Kang Ho was already reaching for his emergency communicator. Da, can you finish that thought? The part about what if? Da looked at the star data again. What if the star doesn't want to become a black hole? What if it would prefer to become something else instead? The room's emergency systems activated immediately. Gentle alarm lights began flashing, and the computer announced, "Attention! Potential human problem-solving detected. Initiating precautionary protocols." Da, Kim Woo said with pride. I think you're getting the hang of this. But Da surprised everyone. Instead of saying the words that would trigger galaxy-wide panic, she closed her notebook and smiled. This looks manageable, she said carefully. I'll follow standard procedures and work with the appropriate alien specialists to develop a comprehensive solution over the next several months. The silence that followed was profound. It was the sound of an entire galaxy holding its breath. Then, slowly, relief began to spread through space. Emergency communication networks that had been preparing for another reality-bending incident instead transmitted a simple message. Human engineer reports standard approach to stellar crisis. The collective sigh of relief from billions of aliens created a minor gravitational wave that astronomers would study for years. Kim Woo beamed with pride. Da, that was perfect. You identified the creative solution but chose the responsible approach. Did I do it right? She asked. You did it better than right, Kang Ho said, his relief evident. You found the balance between human ingenuity and galactic sanity. Later that day, Kang Ho updated the Human Incident Database, a secret file that tracked every time humans said anything that made the universe nervous. His entry read, Day 184 Post-Kepler Station. Human engineer. ODA successfully identified impossible solution to stellar collapse crisis, but voluntarily chose conventional approach. No reality alterations detected. Coffee quality, normal. Galaxy stability, excellent. Note, training program. Appears to be working. As the news spread, beings across the galaxy experienced something they hadn't felt in months. The calm confidence that comes from knowing that humans were still solving impossible problems, but now they were doing it responsibly. The dying star in Vega continued its slow collapse, but now it was being studied by teams of specialists from dozens of species. They had 8 months to find a solution, and for the first time in galactic history, everyone believed they might actually succeed. After all, they had learned from humans that most problems just needed someone to think about them differently. And if they got really stuck, they could always ask Kim Woo for advice. He'd probably suggest starting with coffee and working from there. In his office on Haven Point, Kim Woo looked out at the stars and smiled. The universe was becoming a more collaborative place, one problem at a time. It was, he thought, exactly as it should be.